Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Not Now, Mom, I'm Gaming. My name is Kay, and this is the first part of a preview for a possible podcast reviewed game called Ni no Kuni 2. Since podcasts take a long time for me to make, as I write out a script for the full length of them, I wanted to give my viewers, you, the chance to vote for what you'd like for me to continue with. To do this, there's a link in the description that'll take you to the voting page. Within it are the games I've done partial podcast episodes on already, with links to them. The voting is completely anonymous and just shows the amount of votes on each game. So if you'd like to see a longer podcast review of Ni no Kuni 2, you can leave a like on the video, state it in the comments, or just head to the link and vote. Aside from that, if you've watched my previous videos, you might have noticed a spike in reviews. That's because I'm now counting the reviews that are on my Steam page instead of YouTube channel, just because it makes it so much easier to keep track of. So that's not the appropriate number of reviews on my channel, but rather my Steam page. I wish my wish list would stop going up so much. First off, the title screen has some epic music going on, which tells you this is going to be a grand old tale full of heroics of some kind. Or so one might assume. Aside from the grandiose soundtrack, there's a mural as the background that slides by depicting a giant snake-like dragon and King Trident, along with some other stuff. Kind of like cave drawings, but maybe a little more elaborate. In the options menu, we have game settings, which provides your choice of difficulty, though you can't change it at the start. Instead, you pick it when you're going into the game or change it during the game itself if you so choose. We've got a lot of different stuff in this section, like controller vibration, things to do with the camera, music, sound, and voice volume, the language, subtitles, and your overall graphics settings, which includes both motion blur and depth of field, which I typically turn off because they turn me off. The other sections include general, battle, and skirmish controls, which are keybinds for certain actions within the game itself, both for controller and mouse and keyboard. For this gameplay review, we'll be doing hard mode, because there is an achievement in here for completing something on hard and above, but not expert mode specifically. The game starts in something of an animated storybook scene before going into full animation reminiscent of Studio Ghibli, though I don't think they worked on the animations in this one like they did in the first game. Instead, there were a Studio Ghibli staff that worked with character design and music composition.
Once upon a time, there were two worlds. One was a world torn by endless war, where strong lands devoured weak, and peace was a distant dream. Eventually, only a few great realms remained, glaring at each other across brittle borders. But then came a great king, one who would change this world forever.
We'll be arriving shortly, Mr. President.
What in the world? Chapter 1. The Fall of the House of Tildrum.
My lord, the preparations are complete.
Excellent. Then let us begin.
What was that?
What happened?
I'm Evan Petty Whisker Tildrum, King of Ding Dong Dell. Who are you?
Never mind who. The question is where? Huh? Well, now. Would you look at that?
Stay where you are! Wait!
Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. First off, don't you hate it when your city gets decimated by a nuke that was probably meant for the president and he still manages to make it through by escaping into an alternate world where he's younger and less gray in the hair? I do enjoy the chapter sketches we get, and the narrator. He sounds pleasant, very narratory. Also, this is so anime, because I don't know a lot of other characters that will look at their changed appearance in the mirror and not be fazed by it. The president is over here admiring his younger, more handsome self. He also doesn't bat an eye at the furry kid wielding a knife at him, saying something about Ding Dong Dell, which sounds more like a deli where the door chimes a ding dong when you enter. Oh, and of course the villain would be something of a weasel with an orange goatee. Now, while there is voice acting in the scenes that we just witnessed, throughout the game there's only going to be partial voice acting, meaning they say little things at the start of their dialogue but don't follow through with the entire sentence. Kinda makes it a little annoying for content creators who like to stream to an audience and speak the lines, because they have to wait a moment to see if the character will say a word or grunt or something first. Evan comes out of the room yelling about an intruder, but Roland states, "Sorry, I'm not really in the mood to play, little guy." As if Evan is just playing dress up and isn't an actual furry wielding a dagger. Put your toy down, child, before you accidentally stab yourself with a fake knife. Even when Evan repeats he's a king, we just shrug it off as playtime banter. Oh, Roland. After an explosion and a moment of thoughtfulness to what Evan is actually saying and the truth behind it, we tell the Child King to be a good boy and wait here for me. Poor Evan just can't be taken seriously when he dresses like that and is far too young to even look like a king. I'm surprised he's not choking on the insult we're feeding him, but it's not like he's going to do what we said. He is pretty mad that we're just turning our back on him and walking away. As you progress, there will be tips on how to do things, and they aren't always going to be intrusive like a lot of other games. In Ni no Kuni 2, it'll mention a tip on the left side of the screen, and if you want to look further into it, you can press the keybind to bring up a larger tutorial screen for it, which may have more than one page to it. This isn't always the case. Sometimes the game will throw it in your face in crucial moments, but for the most part, it's a small tip that you can expand on. The first one would be moving your character, and if you're on controller, you're able to walk or run by how far you push the joystick, which means there's no actual run button. The next tip is for controlling the camera, which is still standard procedure in games like this, just like the movement. Before we reach the open doors...
This is too easy. Just have to take...
Halt! Intruder! You will go no further! Guards! Seize him!
What's that noise? In there!
That'll teach me to get trigger happy. They're not here to protect you. Get back.
Here's your intrusive tutorial for melee attacks. You've got quick and light ones, plus slow and heavy ones, and the amount of damage you inflict is based on your attack power and the enemy's defense. This is where you're either going to realize you don't mind the combat, or if it's going to irritate the crap out of you, because this is a game where there's grunts and gasps for every hit you inflict on an enemy, as well as a sound effect for your weapon for every swing. I think it might be annoying at first, but you learn to tune it out. After almost being skewered, Evan still thinks someone's going to come to the rescue and arrest Roland, but he's told this is a coup. This is actually the first time I had to look up that word when first playing the game, because I never came across it before and didn't know the meaning behind the word. Funny how games can teach you things that you should have probably already known, but since your memory is that of a fried fish being skewered onto a kebab, sometimes a reminder is necessary.
To strike, while our enemy was preoccupied with preparations for the ceremony. This was a very clever strategy indeed, my lord. If only King Leonard had been less robust, he would have succumbed to the poison all the sooner, and our plot would have come to fruition all the more quickly.
What does it matter now? Did we not plan for just such stubbornness on his part? King Leonard's untimely demise was effected without a hitch. Now the only obstacle remaining is the boy.
Yes, my lord. And once he is eliminated, the throne will be ours for the taking.
It is time for Mousekind to assume its rightful place at last.
Lord Mousinger, the boy, he's escaped.
What?
No matter. We will find him soon enough. Or rather, the Black Knight will.
If Mousinger is meant to be a mouse, then the character design did him dirty and turned him into a weasel. Unless this is like The Great Mouse Detective, where the villainous rat wants to be called a mouse instead, and it just doesn't work like that. You know, it was mentioned before in a playthrough, but for the most part, mice in films are the innocent or heroic ones, such as with The Great Mouse Detective, Fievel Goes West, and The Rescuers. But here we have mice overthrowing the kingdom and taking control of it. Mousinger's stupid little sidekick is named Vermin, and has a curly Q mustache and a prissy haircut. He even rubs his hands together like an evil henchman. His flair for dramatics when it's stated the boy's escape makes me want to roll him up into the red carpet adorning the hall and toss it out with him still in it. You know he's going to appear more often. The villain always sends the idiot henchman out for scouting and botched jobs. On a side note, the Black Knight looks like Darth Vader with a piggy nose. Probably not wise to tell him that. You found where the explosion happened, and you can take control of Roland again. There are people in the hall unalive, but you'll notice they have an icon that pops up when you're near. It's full color at first, and after you've interacted with them, the icon grays out. This goes for alive people as well, just so you know who you spoke with or tried to speak with, as the case may be. You can also access the menu if you want, and there's a map as well. When you approach some enemies, there's the lock-on tutorial, and personally, I dislike the lock-on in combat. It doesn't do a very good job when there are several enemies. Like, you can lock onto one, but still be attacking another enemy instead of abrupt facing the enemy you've locked onto. And if they're behind you, well, why are you locked onto an enemy that's behind you? It just doesn't make much sense. Not to mention, on a controller, if you want to switch to another target, use the left or right D-pad instead of the joystick that a lot of games now do. It makes switching targets a little more difficult in the thick of things. There are elite guardsmen up ahead, meaning you don't want to mess with them, meaning this is a stealth area. Now, I've not beat the game as of right now, but I've also not come across any more stealth sections. And if I have, it was probably only one. So I don't really think it's so much teaching you to stealth, but rather telling you you're severely underleveled to deal with these redcoats. And from past experience, they are quite difficult to combat when they're all rushing you at once. For this stealth area, you just stay close to the bushes and make sure none of the guards notice you. Evan, of course, like any other sidekick, will stick out like a sore thumb, but the idiots will only become aggressive if they see you, the president, and not the Child King. There's an area with enemies where you learn the tutorial for blocking, which is left button. What it doesn't tell you is that you have to be standing still in order to block, because if you're moving in a direction and press left button, you'll actually roll instead. It threw me for a loop when it first happened. I don't know how they could have forgot that. Also, if you're in expert mode, these battles must be so annoying to be drip-fed combat tips when you're literally fighting for your life. At the first fight, they should have taught you to defend and roll away because your roll does have iframes. Reinforcements come with a scene.
Right.
Looks like the end of the road.
Sorry, Evan. I came as quickly as I could.
And now you know there's magic to the game. What with a necromancer that was about to barbecue our biscuit if Nella hadn't ganked her. Here's where we learn about the evasion, as if you didn't already do a dodge roll when trying to defend. I'm more of a roly-poly on the battlefield. Why bother defending when you can roll around with iframes and make enemies chase you? Nella, short for our Nella, is Evan's governess and also bodyguard apparently, with that kind of filthy fighting. She tells us what we've already figured. Mousinger has started a rebellion and wants to kill Evan. Tell us something we don't know, right? At this point, I try some of the doors and learn something important. There may be doors in an area that you can interact with, but if you look at the map and don't see a passageway behind said door, you're probably not going to be able to open it. It's almost as redundant as doors you can open without anything in them. On your way to the sewer, you meet up with a Persian cat named Persia, of all things, and she gives you 5 soar away. So you're not going to receive potions and the like in this game. Instead, they're going to have different names, but kind of do the same things and give different effects. This is where the item tutorial shows up, which can be accessed in the main menu. While you can use items in a battle, some items have a limited use. Not sure what they are, but I'm sure they're going to be more important than a soar away. The game doesn't really delve too far into the item side of things, and what I mean is if you look at the soar away in the items tab, you'll notice it has 1 star out of 5. I don't know what the stars mean. I don't know if they're there to suggest this is a common item, or the item isn't the best of the HP restoration of items. I'd say it's based on rarity, but equipment is categorized in rarity by their color, so does it mean we can upgrade things up to 5 stars? I just wish it would say something about what's clearly not being talked about. Maybe it's for the future and shouldn't be bothered with acknowledging at the moment, but I hate that it's there and we know nothing about it. You can go through the rooms and talk to people in this section, but that's about it. There are chests you find in the rooms, but you can't open them or anything. They're just part of the environment, meant to tempt you.
Who was that, Nella?
That was the Black Knight.
The Black Knight looks as if he'd have heat-seeking vision. His red eyes seem to dilate for a moment in the scenes before returning to their normal size. He's Mousinger's most trusted underling that I expect typically lurks in the background and only comes out to play on special occasions, like this one, where a soon-to-be-dead king has gone missing. Apparently he looks that way and is strong because he's dabbled in forbidden magic. In order to not draw his attention, Roland gets an outfit change. He looks pretty darn good in the new getup, I'm not gonna lie. A far cry from purple suits and presidential ties. Nella also gives us an arms band, which is how we'll be storing our weapons. It can hold up to 3 weapons at a time, and you can cycle through them during combat. Plus, when it comes to your pistol, which is a separate ranged item from your physical weaponry, your ammo becomes replenished automatically. Pretty freaking nifty. This is where the equipment and skills tutorial comes into play. There's a rundown with the weapons, but also your apparel tab is where you can equip clothing, armor, footwear, and accessories. After that are the skills which you can place onto your skill palette, meaning you can choose to use 4 different skills through the keybinds you assign them to. When you go into the equipment tab, the game teaches you about your character parameters. You've got 5 icons: melee attack strength, ranged attack strength, magical attack strength, physical defense, and magical defense. Pretty self-explanatory, but the melee and ranged also tie into your melee or ranged spells as well, not just weapons. While all armor and accessories can be used by everyone, weapons are actually character specific, so Roland won't be able to use a hammer if he comes across one. The next tutorial teaches you about switching weapons. Each weapon has a zing gauge, and you want to use a weapon with a higher amount of zing because that's where your heavier hits are going to come into play, as well as stronger ability usage. Not that you can't use a weapon that's at 0, because you can, and the gauge fills as you strike enemies. As far as switching weapons, there are multiple ways to go about it: manual, semi-automatic, and automatic. Semi-automatic is on by default and allows for both automatic as well as manually switching of weapons. Manual is all on you as to what your weapon fighting choices are going to be in each battle, and automatic means you have no say in it. The game chooses the best weapon during combat as the zing gauges fill and deplete. I personally keep mine on semi-automatic because I just sometimes forget to switch weapons during combat to my advantage. Finally, I say this as if we're not going to run into another tutorial up ahead. We have the blue waystone in the room, which is actually our save point as well as health and MP restoration. You don't have to save with these. If you're out in the open world, you'll have the ability to save in the main menu, but when you're in specific areas, you'll likely need to find a waystone to save your progress. Nella also hands Evan his essentials, but he won't be fighting at the moment, since it's up to Roland and Nella to protect him at this point, so don't worry about him. Because it's not mentioned yet, you can look into a tutorial on the ranged attacks if you want. It's one of those non-intrusive tutorials to look into at your convenience, but right now, we're not really supposed to be fighting in this area. Basically, if you take a left at the door and walk straight up the steps, you can get by without being seen. But, being who I am, I went after 2 guards and brought everyone in the room to me. And trust me when I say they hit hard when you let them land some blows on you. So be careful if you do want to initiate a fight. Make sure you're ready for it. Next, we're going into a room that's a little too ordinary if you ask me. There's nothing in it except a door on the side, which leads to who knows where, a fireplace with a mirror atop it, and a bookcase. And of course, since it's got nothing of importance, nobody would ever suspect that if you pull a certain book, it will lead to a secret passage. This all plays out during a scene, so you don't have to do anything, but I will say it's weird that they use a combination of scenes where you have to manually continue the conversation where there's not much voice acting, and then switching to the actual voice acted scenes. I guess it's just to keep it within a set budget. After entering the sewers, another conversation plays out as to why Messenger may have started the rebellion, and Roland mentions he's seen a divide between the mice and the cats, called Grimalkin, which is pretty common in real life too. You just don't see the mice coming together as one, like the rats did in the Plague Tale series. Though if the former king had tried to mending the rift, I wonder what exactly the conflict is from. They can't just be playing it off as a species thing, so maybe the mice don't live the same life of luxury as the Grimalkin might? That could spark some everlasting hatred, but even the mice seem to be employed in the castle, so maybe they also feel used? I'm not sure at this point. Nella states that the reason for King Leonard's death was due to poison being placed in his food a little at a time, so it'd look like he was sick for an extended period before finally succumbing, and nobody would be the wiser. A long-standing plan of action to take over a kingdom, so they certainly weren't in much of a rush. Then again, maybe it pleased Messenger to see the king so unwell for that length of time, and him having no clue to the reasons behind it. Finally, we enter Ding Dong Dell's Ding Dong Well. I really hope, at some point, we'll see a giant bell that emits a ding-dong noise to rescue this place from its otherwise goofy name. So I didn't mention this tutorial before with the guards we were encountering, but when approaching enemies you'll enter a circular battle arena, meaning you can't just shoot them from a distance. You have to actually be within the arena in order to attack, I believe. You technically can't leave the arena, but you do have a chance to flee by running against it and filling the flee meter to escape, in case you're a chicken or the enemies are about to serve you up as an entree. You won't want every enemy to sit on you after all. Since we already know the battle logistics, this is the first part of the game where you'll be earning loot for your kills. This loot comes in the form of small pouches of guilders, your currency, or items and chests that will either give you weapons or equipment. Sometimes the chest will glow a different color like blue or red, more often than not depending on your difficulty. This is their rarity, and I don't know the full scheme of colors, but I know red is better than blue. I can't recall if there's a purple or gold, if there's even legendaries within the game, which I suspect is what gold would be if that were the case. If you want some really good weapons and equipment fast, you'll want the highest difficulty. Clearly I'm on hard mode, and I get pretty good equipment at a decent rate. Just don't forget to equip them when you find them. The better gear have perks that the common gear won't. And the last thing we learn right now for combat are the spells, since Roland didn't come to this world with one. Nella unlocked the Flatliner skill for us, which is a sideways slash that can get multiple enemies even at a slight distance. This skill can be placed on the skill palette along with 3 others, and it goes hand in hand with the zing gauge. The higher the zing gauge, the more damage the skill will do. Not only that, but the game hints that sometimes a skill will change altogether given the gauge is at full 100%, so that's something to keep in mind. This skill will be automatically equipped, but you might want to switch it to another keybind, which you can do in the menu. As for your mana, since I haven't touched base on this, it's actually noted as the blue hexagonal shapes above your health bar. You'll need to use mana for both skills as well as ranged weapon use, as that will deplete them as well. Now, along with enemies dropping items, you can also break faces in the environment which might yield you currency or items, or even health or mana orbs. I don't think you'll be finding any equipment within them, as those are reserved for chests, also found out in the open. You won't know what kind of rarity equipment within the chests are until you open them. Shh, it's a surprise. Luckily, since Roland is able to jump, you can hop around the environment to get to places quicker, in case you've fallen into the clean sewer water and want to hop out of it. I managed to obtain a red feisty broadsword, and going into the menu you can see a bit more information about weapons, including things that we still don't understand. I know, we're still at the beginning of the game, but still. This sword in particular has a 40 attack power and 20 magic attack power, slightly increases damage dealt, and has a slight damage boost against tainted monsters, which I don't think we've come across as of yet. It's also a 1 star out of 5, and has a 0 out of 5 next to a hammer icon, and has a medal with the number 13. On the right, it'll show your zing %, and underneath that is a charge build, which ours is in the red. Not really sure what that is, but if I guessed, I'd say it's how quick you can gain zing in battles. Otherwise, it's the rarity color, and that doesn't provide a whole lot of info in itself. It'll behoove you to explore these areas by taking note where little branch-offs in the path are in the map. Monsters are typically guarding some goodies that may be worth getting. Or not. RNG is chaotic neutral at the best of times. I did find a second feisty broadsword, this one purple. The main thing that changed on it were of course the stats, the perks, and the gold medal that now shows the number 15, as opposed to the 13 on the red sword. I still don't get it. When we get close to the exit, we find someone exploded the bridge.
There you are, your majesty. Much as it pains me, I'm afraid I must ask you to relinquish your life.
Mausinger?
It is terribly unfortunate, I concede, but your illustrious line ends here, today! There is nowhere to run. Come quietly, and you shall not suffer long.
I'll hold him off for as long as I can. Get out of here. Go, now.
But, Nella...
Just go. You are the kingdom's last hope, Evan. You cannot die here.
It's always a mentor or someone important that has to die at the start, but I love that they put hand-drawn scenarios of Nella and Evan together, as if he's thinking of all the kind moments she shared with him in his youth, only to have them doused away by the cold splash of water him and Roland slam into. While Roland can only assume that she gave her life for their escape, it's true that we didn't actually see the landing blow, and that's something important in video games and movies. If you didn't see it happen, who's to say it did? Fun fact I learned in this area, you can't open chests from the back, you have to be standing in front of them. Which makes sense, but video game logic isn't always supposed to make sense. Clearly from all the bogus hidden object games I played.
Huh? What in the...
I have you now.
Finally, we get to a boss fight with the Black Knight, Mousinger's merciless man-at-arms. I love that the game provides you with their name and an alternate title underneath it. It's got the same color scheme as him and takes up a good portion of the screen at the bottom so you can clearly see this is his name and this is a boss fight. This fight has 2 phases. During the first phase, he's got 3 movesets that I noticed. First, a single slash if you're in close range. A weapon power-up before he jumps forward a set amount and slashes in an arc, and a stabbing rush forward. I didn't get hit in the first phase because Roland is a squirrely guy that likes to jab and run. At about 30% health, he went to phase 2, where he transitions into a weremouse, and I swear these guys are more rat than mouse. Especially this guy, but whatever. He actually looks pretty darn cool. His main attack is the one where he runs forward and tries to arm bash you, it looks like, and then he'll hop away, which sucks when you're about to strike him. I don't think this is a fight that you have to win, but one that's timed, because I didn't get too many strikes in before we went into a cutscene.
Look out!
Nella!
No!
Nella!
Damn it.
Wake up, Nella. Please wake up.
Evan, you'll be a wonderful king.
But
No one could ever replace your mother. But in our time together, I've come to think of you as...
I know, Nella. I know.
I had hoped I would live to see it. To see you grow into the ruler I know you will be.
But I can't do it. Not without you. I can't.
Of course you can. You have a good heart, Evan. I can see it. You'll be the kindest king, with the happiest subjects there have ever been.
Aranella!
You have to be strong, Evan. You have to build a kingdom where everyone can live happily ever after.
No. Nella! Don't leave me! Nella! 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 I'll do it. I'll try. For you, Nala. We'll build a new kingdom where everyone can be happy.
I hear something! This way!
Huh?
Is it there?
Evan, we have to leave.
Nala!
I mean, I kind of wish they left her death at the hands of the Black Knight on the bridge. Just for the bittersweet memories and how sad her sacrifice was. Because here, well, we'd already thought we witnessed her death, and now here it legitimately is, and it just seemed like a forced death. It didn't have as much impact as the first time, since she's already done this before. It's more of a disappointment than anything else. Now we get a scene with Evan having tea time with some kid known as Curious Boy.
What's the matter, Evan? You look sad.
I lost someone special. Someone I thought would always be there.
Oh, that is sad. But for every ending, there's a new beginning, you know?
Really?
Of course. You lost someone special, but you also met someone new, didn't you? And you'll be making lots more new friends very soon. Who knows? You may even meet someone who really will be there forever. Which isn't to say things will be easy. Life is never that simple. The beginnings and endings, the hellos and goodbyes, every step on the journey comes with its own challenges and rewards.
I suppose.
Listen to me talking like a wise old man. Sorry, these aren't my words. They're someone else's. Someone very special.
Who?
I have to go now, but I'll come and visit you again soon, all right? Bye!
Wait!
Turns out we were sleeping, which makes me question who the boy was even more than before, since he could have just been a coping mechanism to deal with Nella's death. But considering this is a fantasy game, I think he's something more. Especially if he can only speak with Evan while Evan's actually asleep and has to leave before Evan wakes up. Good old Roland watched over him while he rested, and now it's time for a chat up on the cliff. Because the only thing better than an important talk is an important talk with pretty scenery. Unfortunately, it isn't actually a voiced cutscene, so I'll give you the lowdown. Roland talks about his world, and Evan mentions Nella telling him a story about a world that was closely connected to his, meaning Roland might have gotten swept into it somehow. Then Roland mentions being something of a king himself, and Evan asks him to part with some of his wisdom, leaving us with...
I'm going to keep my promise to Nella. I'm going to build a kingdom where everyone can live happily ever after.
You are, huh? Good for you. I've made my mind up too. I'm staying here, in this world. With you, Evan.
You are?
And thus, young Evan, though heavy of heart, resolved to honor the dying wish of his dearest friend by becoming a king once more. And Roland, sensing something special in his youthful companion, decided to join him on his journey.
The end to Chapter 1.